Good day, everyone. My name is Lucy Chioma Anyangolo, and today I'll be presenting the key findings from the NEET assessment conducted for Forbin International Colossus Division. The purpose of this assessment was to understand the underlying causes of declining production performances and the increase in workplace safety incidents. Rather than assuming that the training was the only solution, the assessment focused on identifying the actual performance gap before making recommendation. The findings I'm sharing today are based on four semi-structured employee interviews that are analyzed using Brown and Clark's six-step thematic analysis process. Two major performance gaps consistently emerged from the analysis. I'll briefly discuss each one and explain the recommendation that were developed based on this evidence. The first performance gap relates to equipment readiness and onboarding. When I analyzed the interviews, one pattern came up repeatedly. Employees did not feel fully prepared to operate the new manufacturing equipment independently. Three good things stand out. First, employees said the training included very little structured hands on practice. Secondly, many explained that they had to rely on trial and error once they returned to the production floor because they still lacked confidence using the equipment. Finally, employees consistently described feeling uncertain when operating the new machinery, increasing the likelihood of production errors and reducing efficiency. Based on these findings, I concluded that the current onboarding process does not adequately prepare employees for safe and independent equipment operation. To address this gap, I recommend redesigning the equipment training program to prioritize guided hands-on practice before employees begin working independently. I also recommend introducing mandatory follow-up coaching and refresher sessions after onboarding. Learning shouldn't stop after orientation. Continued coaching allows these employees to strengthen their skills while applying them on the job. Together, this intervention will improve employee confidence, reduce operational errors, and support more consistent production performance. The second performance gap relates to safety practices and communication. Although employees understood the importance of workplace safety, the interviews showed that safety procedures were not implemented consistently across the organization. Again, three issues emerged. Safety expectation differed depending on the supervisor or production shift. Secondly, employees also reported communication gap between management and frontline staff, making it difficult to stay informed about operational changes and expectation. Finally, several employees were hesitant to report safety concerns or near misses, suggesting that employees did not always feel comfortable speaking up. These findings suggest that the challenge goes beyond training. It reflects broader issues with leadership, communication, and organizational process. For that reason, I recommend two organizational interventions. The first is to standardize safety enforcement across all departments and shifts so that employees receive consistent expectation regardless of who is supervising them. The second is to establish more structured communication, including regular shift briefing, supervisor feedback sessions, and consistent safety updates. These changes will help strengthen communication, reinforce safety practices, and create a more supportive work environment. To conclude, these needs assessment found that Forbin international performance challenges are both driven by instructional and organizational factors. The first performance gap highlighted weakness in equipment, readiness, and onboarding, while the second revealed inconsistency in safety practices and communication. This means that training alone will not solve the problem. Instead, the organization should implement redesigned hands on training alongside stronger safety processes and more consistent communication. As these recommendations are implemented, leadership should continue monitoring production performance, safety incidents, and employee feedback. Reviewing these indicators regularly will help determine whether the interventions are achieving the desired outcome and where further improvement may be needed. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to present these findings, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.